Hey there, this is Dan Bessetti at Total Athlete Training. I want to talk to you today about a common training tool, the foam roller, that I think everybody is aware of. However, I think people don't use it nearly as much as they should. And I think probably the reason is you don't really understand what it's for, or actually what actually happens when you use a foam roller. And so to give you some illustrative direction on that, first we need to understand what our muscles are like. So this is one of our resistance bands that we have, and we use them for stretching, we use them for resisted running, we use them for rows. It's a super great tool. But using this as an illustration of our muscles. So our muscles have both an extensibility, make them longer, and then they have a strength to them as well, similar to the band. And then if you look at the band is similar in consistency, meaning it has the same makeup. So a healthy muscle is very much the same way. However, when we use our muscles a lot, and especially for athletes, when you use them in a repeated manner over the course of days, weeks, months, years, that changes the whole ball game as far as what your muscles end up looking like. So on the inside of them, what happens when you repeatedly use a muscle? Let's say you're talking about a throwing athlete in the back of the shoulder, you're talking about a hockey player or a basketball player, a lot of lateral motion, you're talking about your groin on the inside of the thigh. Anybody who runs, it could be your IT band, it could be the muscles in your shins. Essentially, when that muscle gets repeatedly used over and over and over and over and over again, it does two things. It will develop what are called trigger points, which are essentially little knotted up areas of muscle fibers. Now, you can find these trigger points, and when you're on a foam roller and you feel that pain, you could be very much on a trigger point. Over periods of time, trigger points which don't get released, which don't get worked out, massaged out, or just the muscle allowed to rest long enough for it to go away on its own, what can actually happen then is that the body actually will lay down like connective tissue, like the tissue that makes up our tendons and ligaments will actually lay that on top of and inside your muscle fibers. Sometimes people call that an adhesion or a contracture, and essentially it becomes like a permanent knot inside your muscle tissue, and you don't want those. So in an effort again to kind of give you some real life understanding of what it's like, so I have an older band here, and what I did to this older band was I took a lighter to it to give you an illustration. I did a little bit of pre-burning here. I'll show you a little bit more. Essentially, fire this thing up, and then I burnt the band at that spot right there. And what you'll see now is that section of the band, perfect. It substantially looks different than the rest of the band. Now, here's the thing. This thing will still stretch. It still has strength. However, the actual fibers of the rubber, or whatever this is made out of, are changed right here. And where do you think, with repeated stretching and use, that this thing is going to break? It's going to break right there. And the same thing goes for your muscles. When you have a painful spot in your quads when you're laying on here and rolling, and it's like, whoa! Essentially, that is that spot in your muscle tissue. Now, the amazing thing about our bodies is that when the roller rolls over it and you put yourself in that bit of pain, it sets up a series of electrical and chemical reactions, essentially, that tell your body that's not right. Let's get rid of that stuff. And young people, over the course of a couple days, at the most for really bad places, a couple weeks. Older folks, might be a couple weeks to a couple months. You can essentially remodel your muscle tissue with the foam roller. So I hope that kind of gives you a more in-depth understanding of how our muscles actually work, and when you have a repeated injury, how that actually damages and changes your muscle tissue, and then how the roller actually helps you to fix it. Because essentially, fixing it is the key to long-term health and longevity for your muscles, so you can play your sport longer and play it better.